All right.
But like we're filming a ransom video.
I know, right?
Today you boys will be involved in such activities as war games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
Fantastic Fest, day one. Whoa! This guy's first time ever. That's Aaron from Digital Noise.
I'm hopped up on about 4 different cappuccinos right now. It's delightful to be here.
And it will be until it's not.
It's only the end of day one. Trust me, we'll break you later.
And you got Alan from Deliberations of Doom and Highly Suspect Reviews. And of course, Ben from Highly Suspect Reviews.
Howdy.
And then of course there's me, Jojo Rabbit. Which is the first movie that we'll be talking about because everybody's like, oh my god, I gotta know how this wacky comedy from the guy who made Thor Ragnarok about Adolf Hitler is. And I admit, this is more or less what went through my head.
It might be less wacky than just the shtick they pulled before the movie doing the panel.
Taika is known for doing rather offbeat Q&As and intros. But the story of Jojo Rabbit is basically this young boy towards the end of World War II living in a German town. And he's a Hitler youth. He is way into it. I mean, it's his Boy Scouts and he is all about it.
He drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he totally did.
But all about it in the way that a child would be, like a 10-year-old child who doesn't really understand what's happening would be about.
Exactly. Yeah, like he thinks Jews have like fangs and sleep
tails,
like bats.
and they sleep from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't. We don't, I swear.
And his imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler, who is played by Taika Waititi, who plays him as kind of a goofball. Yeah. You know, because this is this kid's, he's my best friend. He's just an imaginary friend.
Yeah, it's played like Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
Except it's Hitler. Yeah. It's just like a total goofball imaginary friend.
Exactly. Yeah. But his mom, played by Scarlett Johansson, as it turns out, is not a fan of the war or of the Nazis and has been secretly hiding a Jewish teenager in the house. And when the young boy discovers her, he is very torn because ultimately he is a good kid. He's just messed up with all these ideas and the Nazi propaganda. As it goes along, we see sort of like the evolution of this kid sort of learning that, like, look, we're all just humans. It's if Monty Python had made the tin drum. I mean, it's got solid performances out there. Stephen Merchant has a brief appearance in it. Sam Rockwell absolutely kills.
He's having the most fun with his character and also some of the most heartfelt moments.
Yeah, he's one of the more surprisingly nuanced characters in the movie.
Yeah. Speaking on nuance, like what you're saying, the movie, the performances and scene to scene, the movie is way more nuanced than you would expect from like the trailers and like the marketing. Like goofy Hitler, like imaginary friend is going to be like a slapstick, almost full-on satire, but the movie is like a little more nuanced and subtle in ways that I did not expect.
It's a lot more complex than I expected, and it ends up kind of taking the structure of this coming-of-age movie where in the beginning, he's super Hitler youth and everything is black and white, and as the movie goes on, you start to see extra layers of Sam Rockwell's character, you start to see extra layers of the mother and kind of their perspectives. It does a good job of going, yes, this is super crazy black and white, and then by the end, he's this disillusioned kid who's realized where he's gone wrong, and it strangely ends up feeling like a treatise on how to escape like being brainwashed by the alt-right or something, like what kids have to go through.
It's talking about the absurdity of like blind patriotism, the absurdity of xenophobia, just trying to like put it into the things. This is, why would anyone feel this way who's not a child? And even then, at least a child's capable of still breaking out of it.
They even make that line where it's just like, technically we all look to the adults when bad things happen, and the adults don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and then you guys keep looking to them. This is the problem. I kind of say the more I think back to it, the more of those emotional moments and touching moments, like it really does get to you. The performances are just, even from the kids, you always think that it's hard to get great kid performances, and I forget the actor, and the kid who plays Jojo just really kills it through this whole movie.
Oh, he's terrific. I think everyone's terrific in this. It does strike just the right balance. One of the complaints I have heard, which once again is the same complaints I heard about 3 Billboards. How dare you show a human side of someone who has done all this horrible stuff? And this is really trying to show these, even some of these Nazi characters who are like, man, this was a bad idea from the beginning. The idea being anyone can have their head that messed up. But you know, the thing is, at their core, they're still human. They're still hopefully savable. And
Well, there's the idea of just like there's a spectrum. You know, there's a nation at war. There are people who are emphatic. There are people who like in the nation at war. There are kids who are caught up in it. It's just like, you know, it's Scarlett Johansson who's like quietly, you know, doing her best to try to do what she can to go. It's like if we're in a position in America right now, if Donald Trump started some crazy shit, obviously we're not going to be like, yeah, you know, like, you know, but like, you know, when you look in the past, like in Nazi Germany, you see, yeah, all these people must have been like fucking crazy Nazis, right?
Right.
But you know, a lot of people were just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're doing this now? Like, what are we, you know, it's like...
We're very easily led. I mean, but be it from buying overpriced sneakers to massacring millions of people, human beings can convince themselves about the value or lack of value of almost any goddamn thing.
Nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah, I know. It's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi.
So Alan and I went to go see The Cleansing Hour. Now, this is a movie that's going to be premiering on Shudder, I believe, shortly. And it is a new take on the exorcism horror movie genre, I would guess, which it pretty much is a genre in and of itself.
Yeah.
The idea being that there's a guy who is a fake priest, but he's a huge YouTube-ish, whatever, sensation, where he goes around and fakes exorcisms with his show, but he's like super hot, so everyone's like, oh, I love him, and
Great abs, Jesus abs.
yeah, Jesus abs, totally. Yeah, you could totally cut a loaf of bread that you made appear in fishes with those abs. He's not like a terrible guy, but he's not a good guy either.
I think he's a terrible guy.
I think he's totally awful.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's a pretty terrible guy. Like, womanizer, total like scumbag, skeezbag, bitching about how many followers he has on Instagram or whatever.
Right.
Like, you know.
One day his number one is the main producer of the show guy who's been his friend for a long time and is honestly getting a little tired of his shit. He kind of reluctantly arranges it because there's a last minute dropout for his girlfriend who can't stand the preacher guy, but is an actress to take the place of the girl who's supposed to be the possessed girl in the scene. And lo and behold, she really does suddenly become possessed by an actual demon whose whole thing is that they're kind of bemused by this whole setup and now want to torture this priest in front of all the followers.
Yeah, it's not really clear too, like how that. I was just thinking about it now, like the plot mechanics of why she needs to be the one who really gets possessed because it's important to the other guy. But like the way that all happens, the way the movie sets it up is really like clunky, and it comes clear this is a pretty clever premise that's executed very blandly.
Yeah.
It's nothing really special about it.
There's no real surprises after that initial idea, which you're like, oh, if you went into this to really have fun with it, like the devil character possessing the girl, who I think is the one actress and person in here who really delivers a performance that's memorable at all.
Oh, she's actually, you know, honestly, like she's good. I think they're all pretty good in it.
They're passable. But you have this opportunity where it's like making fun of social media people, but it's never really having any fun. Yeah. And I'm like, this demon should have been a funny demon. Why was this demon not more of a Mephistophelies type?
They kind of try to make some jokes, and like the one joke of it being like the one social media joke, it's funny the first time it happens, like
and then it keeps
the
happening.
Comments, and then like the people who watch it and like what you're doing to try to get numbers, but then it's that same joke throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't think this was terrible, but it certainly wasn't something that felt up to Fantastic Fest standards for me. I mean, I can totally see I would have enjoyed this more if it was one of those I just surfed on and found on Shudder.
I didn't hate it. Like it was a midnight movie, and I didn't like get sleepy by the end. I was still engaged enough to like, I'm gonna stick it out to the end.
It's you could rent it. You'd be like, yeah, that was fine, I guess. If this is the sort of thing you're looking for, but there's certainly not enough in the potential of the interesting premise to make it into something that really feels new at all.
Yeah, I'm curious if we'll get other, just like the premise of like it's reality TV, but what if it's really real reality TV?
Right.
Like in the horror genre, you could do that with like Survivor.
Yeah.
Except, oh shit, we really gotta survive. There's a lot of stuff to mine here, and like this one, you could do this again.
But better.
But better.
Time to go off script.
Well, let's go to Takashi Miike's two T names. It was confusing. Takashi Miike's
and names.
yeah, that's true. New film First Love. Now, despite the title, this is not a sweet, soppy romance.
Wait, for Miike, it kind of is.
It's a little hard to decipher because there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of stuff going on here. But as near as we can tell, our primary character is this young boxer who's been given a diagnosis that he's got a brain tumor and he is going to die. And he's very, very depressed. And he comes upon a guy chasing a girl down an alley, girl screaming for help, and he just clotheslines the guy and knocks him out. It's like, oh shit, it was a cop. Takes his badge and his gun.
It happens for Chris Tucker to pop out and be like, "You got knocked the fuck out!"
Right?
No, just like, damn!
But it turns out there's a lot of stuff going on. The cop in question is a corrupt cop who's working with a younger gangster, and that gangster is stealing drugs from his own gang and trying to make it look like the girl in question, who is a prostitute who was
I can't believe you're even trying to explain
It's such a wonderfully convoluted plot.
Forced into prostitution by her father's debts. So they're like, okay, we'll make it look like she did it and her handler, but we'll just kill both of them. And that plan goes totally awry, where they're both on the run in different ways.
I had no idea why they were chasing the girl.
No, that was the plan. And also, the girl is coming down from meth.
And it's
tripping fucking
everywhere.
Yeah, it's like the movie a lot of times is playing it straight but funny, almost in a sort of pseudo early Tarantino-ish sort of way.
It's kind of a very restrained Miike. Like, after some of the batshit crazy movies we've seen, it's relatively straightforward. There's no surrealistic goat gods who come out of anyone's intestines. There's only 2 severed heads in the whole movie.
Right.
You know?
There's only one animated sequence.
Hey, that was a great...
No, it was
Yeah.
But, like, I will say that the first act of the movie moved a little slow for me. I was kind of like, okay, let's get on with it. What are you doing? But when the second act began, the robbery occurs, and it becomes this kind of Takashi Miike crime film by way of the Coen brothers, where something small goes wrong, and then while trying to fix that, another thing goes wrong, and while trying to fix that, another thing goes wrong, and while trying to fix that, another thing goes wrong, and the bodies just start piling up.
You're all describing things, and this is all stuff I loved in the movie, but I did not like this movie.
No,
Really?
Yeah.
I loved it.
The thing is, it's like, this movie is weird. I think none of the action kind of worked in it. Like, the editing it could be a budget, I don't know what was happening, but like that, it seemed like it was missing something. All the action didn't really work smoothly. And having said that, I could have used like a whole other hour of this movie where we get into like all the characters and make it more of a sprawling epic with these two getting caught up in it.
Sure. Because
everyone is has like the short shrift here. No one's really fully done. I find it frustrating.
it felt like a condensed miniseries in some ways, because all the characters, he does do enough where they all have their own distinctive thing about them.
Yeah, and they all get moments in the movie, but
That's all they are.
But
they don't have an arc.
The one thing that really I thought was odd was that the 2 main characters don't really have a lot of scenes, all things considered, in the film. It's not till the 3rd act they really give them much at all to do.
It should have been like MPD Psycho when he made like a 13-episode thing.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I could even take like one of his like 2.5 hour like
Right.
weirdly long epics. This one was like an hour and a half, hour and
Something
40
like
minutes.
that, yeah.
It seemed very. And like by the time we got to the 3rd act, like I was like loving it when I thought it was like halfway through this movie and there's gonna be a long one. And then I felt that wrapping up. I was like, what's going on here?
That didn't bug me as much because I felt like it was more supposed to be like vignettes of like fun ideas.
But there are a ton of fun scenes in it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
no, there's not really.
It's fun to watch. It just doesn't all coalesce as
Yeah.
well. I kept thinking, man, this is like almost a great movie, but it's just missing something. But there's so many solid ideas, and like the way that all these character stories intermingle. I hate to say it, but I would kind of like to see a remake of this film by someone who took it, translated it, found a way to solidify it, maybe remove some of the characters, or
just add 45 minutes.
Or add 45 minutes, but keep the basic ideas and the chaos going on around it, because it's brilliant.
A lot of great
It
art.
reminded me of Ben Wheatley's Free Fire, but if it took place in
Oh
characters.
yeah, I can see that.
けどこの子はここから出す
You're listening to the Oneofus.net podcast network.